Evening, everyone. This is the Select Board meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. This meeting hearing of the Ayer Select Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person or virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom and Channel 8. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 978-772-8220 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100 prior to the meeting. If I could ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, do I have any amendments to the agenda?
I have none.
Make a motion that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And chair says aye. All right, we have one announcement. I hope I can read this. It's just so small.
Sorry.
Town of Ayer Public Budget Forum will be held on Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the first floor meeting room of the Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, and via Zoom, meeting ID number 978-772-8220, call in 929-205-6099. The town manager will present the final draft of the FY27 budget. All department heads will be in attendance for Q&A. For additional information, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager, at 978-772-8220, extension 149, or at atm@ayer.ma.us. Any other announcements?
None.
All right, so first up, we have an application for common victiculars. Oh, I'm sorry. Public input. Anyone here for public input? Okay. All right, so first up, we have the application for the common victiculars license for the Ayer Masonic Association on 11 Scully Road, Ayer, Mass. Hello.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening.
You. Yes.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I was just going to say, this is Rick Dixon from the Masonic Lodge, and he's applied. He's gone through all the steps. He's met with the fire department and Bridget from the Board of Health, and they're looking to do monthly meals for fundraising, and Rick can take it from there. But this was distributed to all our regular departments. There were no issues, and we're just recommending approval. So.
Thank you. This is, we had just rebuilt our kitchen, and we have a lot of expenses. It's based on a volunteer organization that pays dues. We're looking to take our kitchen and actually put it to use. That's primarily what we're looking to do.
Okay. So you said for like monthly meals?
We don't have a schedule yet of
Okay.
what we do, but I understand that this license is required. So we had already gone through the Board of Health.
Okay.
We have the fire department, we have a new hood, we have all of the parameters. So we've upgraded our safety system in the building, which was another unknown surprise to us. But that's all done, and we feel actually ready to go.
Okay. All right. Well, based on tonight's outcome, let us know what you plan on doing so that we can help spread the word for you. So, any questions?
No? Looks all in order.
I'll make a motion that the board approve the application for the common victualers license for the Ayer Masonic Association as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Congratulations.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I did have a question. It
Oh.
doesn't impact your vote.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I don't know the gentleman's name. I didn't hear it clearly. Does
Rick
this
Dixon.
make the Masonics kitchen a commercial kitchen?
It is not a commercial kitchen. We had talked about trying to become a commercial kitchen, but we actually don't have enough space to meet the requirements of the Neshoba Board of Health to have a separate space and activity to allow a commercial kitchen.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. That was my only question. I appreciate it. Sorry for the interruption.
Anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, congratulations. Let us know.
I appreciate it.
Thank
If what you plan on doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
you. Madam Chair,
Yes.
the Town of Ayer notice of public hearing for the Ayer Select Board for fiscal year 2027 water, sewer, and stormwater rates. The Ayer Select Board will be conducting an in-person and remote public hearing on Tuesday, March 17th, 2026 at 6:05 p.m. at the Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Massachusetts 01432. The Select Board, in their legal capacity as the town's water, sewer, and stormwater commissioners, will hear the report and recommendations of the town's rate review committee, take public comments, and consider approval and adoption of the fiscal year 27 water and sewer rates. Zoom meeting ID is 978-772-8220, and call-in number is 929-205-6099. For more information, please contact atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 149. Date of public hearing, Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. Time of public hearing, 6:05 p.m. Location of public hearing, first floor meeting room, Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. 01432. Remote participation meeting held on Zoom, and see above for Zoom details.
All right. Welcome.
Madam Chair, Dan Van Scalper, Public Works Director for everybody who's around. Representing the Rate Review Committee here to provide the presentation of the recommended rates for the board. If you want to go ahead, Carly. I know we got a lot on the Select Board agenda, so and this board has seen this presentation before, so I'll try to be brief with the explicate the background up front. So, agenda, we'll go over the committee's rate review process, overview of the infrastructure we're talking about, and the rate models and recommendations for the water and sewer and stormwater rates. Okay. Here's a list of the members of the rate review committee. I'm not going to list them all, but it's in the packet. So the goal today, set the water, sewer, and stormwater rates for FY27. So that's starting July 1st of this year. Okay, Ayer DPW water and wastewater. So I'll focus on water and wastewater and then talk about stormwater at the end of the presentation. So DPW provides drinking water, collects and treats wastewater for the citizens and businesses. We have 2 water treatment plants and a wastewater treatment plant, as well as the collection and distribution systems for those. We're operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to provide that service. Ayer water system background, it's constructed in 1895 originally. We still do have some very old pipes out there. Significant amount of pipes, significant amount of infrastructure, and you know, we have to take good care of it. So carry on. Some of the issues we've had in recent past, as I mentioned, we do have aging pipes, but we've been doing a lot of work at water main replacements and doing those before we pave. Dead end pipes, those cause water quality problems, and we try to deal with those. PFAS contamination, as everyone knows, we've had these in the Ayer wells. There is treatment in place. It has caused a treatment restriction at Grove Pond. I'll get more into that on a future slide. But let's keep going. So here's the treatment restriction we were talking about, and as the board's aware, the Clearwell storage tank project is in progress. We anticipate that being completed this spring for the summer demand, and to be able to treat back to the capacity we used to at Grove Pond before the PFAS treatment was there. The sewer system, or wastewater, it includes 34 miles of gravity sewer, 3.5 miles of forced mains. We do have 19 pump stations, so that's a significant amount and does have a lot of power involved. And also a wastewater treatment plant and tertiary treatment plant. So some of the sewer infrastructure challenges we have, we do have aging pipes as well. There are strict water quality standards. We're in a 10-year improvement for the treatment plant, which is 44 years old. So we're on the 4th phase out of 5 of those. And we have been putting a lot of money, and it's been good, towards repairs of the system. And this past winter, we just did a collection system on Main Street in Columbia for rehab of the sewer piping there. So it's very critical infrastructure. Sewer treatment plant upgrades completed to date. I don't think I'm going to get into this, but this is part of that 5-phase process I was just talking about. Keep going. Okay, water division budget. This slide is a table with a breakdown of the actual expenses from FY25 and then our budgeted numbers for FY26 and currently proposed budget for FY27, which is currently still in draft form. So you can see here, each year we do have some cost increases in the budget, and you'll see that on the future slide when we get into the model. Keep going. And then this pie chart just really shows you where most of the expenses occur. We do have, so debt is a big thing. We have a lot of capital projects for the water division, and also wages and expenses are your other big one, just to operating expenses. This is the water division capital plan. I think just highlight the next really big project is the Spec Pond Well 3 pumping station transmission main. That's a new well source where it's still permitting right now. So that would be the next big one out there. Sewer division budget, very similar to the water division budget. And you can see cost increases throughout the years. The DPW, it is a union shop, so wages, we do have a union contract we go by, and the budgets get set by that, toward that, and as well as expenses. And Devon's flow capital here, that really is, the DPW has the option to divert flow to Devon's as a backup instead of our treatment plant, and we need to have that because the treatment plant's reached 80% of its average design capacity. So that's been in place for over 20 years now. Carry on. Similarly, the sewer division budget, debt is one of your highest. As I mentioned, we're in the 4th phase of the 5-phase upgrade to the plant, and that's been a very expensive upgrade. And expenses as well as wages are your next biggest. Sewer capital. Similarly, you can see in FY29, that's when we're currently planning the final phase of the upgrades. That's tentative, the 3.8 million number. But otherwise, we've got some routine II repairs. We call them infiltration. Those are the repairs to the collection system out in the street, where we've been doing rehab to the pipes out there, cured in place pipe liner. Okay, getting into the rates. Water and sewer rate model. So in FY24, the rate review committee worked with Raftellus, a consultant, to update our water and sewer rate model to the current one we're using. Each year, each fiscal year, the rate review committee dusts off the model, updates it with actual budgets, actual costs, future anticipated capital, et cetera, gets the model fully ready, and then uses it to forecast which rates we may want to consider for the future. Okay, so this slide graphic here is showing the projected water cash flows if we were not to increase the rates and leave them where they are. So the black line with the gray dots, that's your revenue, and then the bars are your expenses. So in FY27, we'd be pretty much okay, but then as you head forward in the subsequent years, we are spending more than we are bringing in. So I'll get a little more into what's going on with water in a couple slides. Go to the next slide. So this slide is showing projected water cash flows with the recommended rate increase from the rate review committee. You can see the bullet on bottom. The recommended increase is applying $350,000 of retained earnings and then a 3% rate increase. So in FY27, we cover our expenses, and then in future years, we're still below. You can see the curve, or the line kind of going up because we're projecting 3% each year. But let's go to the next slide. Some of the key factors of what's going on here. So we anticipate revenue to increase in FY27 and beyond. Why is that? Right now, we mentioned that treatment restriction, Grove Pond Water Treatment Plant. We've had to limit our water out of that plant because of the restriction. We've had to purchase water from Devon's during high demand, things like that. So we expect to be able to pump a lot more. So more water produced, more water consumed, more rates paid, more revenue. So we anticipate that to be online in 2026. So we're kind of at this inflection point with the model. It's like, let's see how things go next year, make sure we get by this year. And we anticipate that graph to change come next modeling year. And so this is currently, what this chart is showing is the reserve fund that we have, reserve fund balance in water. The red dashed line is a target to have in our reserve fund, and that's based on a recommendation from Raftellus and industry standard. It's 466 days of revenue. So currently we're above that in FY27. We're going to use $350,000 of retained earnings if we move forward in this way. And then as you project forward, as you remember, the graph was showing more expenses than revenue taken in. So that's why you can see the water fund balance dropping down. So really, I remember when Raftellus explained this to us, looking 10 years out is very far. The clarity is not there. But the 5-year look is the best way to look. And so, as I mentioned, we're at this inflection point with the clear well. So you got to take all those into account when looking at the water here. I feel like it'll be a little clearer next year. Next slide. So the previous slide was the projected water reserve fund if we were not to increase rates. And this one is if we do increase the rate, 350,000 retained earnings FY27, and then a 3% rate increase year after year. So it just shows we would have a little more in the water fund balance. Okay. Similarly, sewer or wastewater, projected cash flows with no rate increase. We'd probably be okay. FY27, we're close, but then as future years, we're in trouble. Next slide. So with the projected sewer cash flows with the recommended rate increase, again, the bullet on bottom. For wastewater, the rate review committee is recommending $50,000 of retained earnings to be used in a 4% rate increase. And you can see it keeps us in pretty good shape, it definitely, especially for the 4 to 5 year outlook. And that's really what we want to see. So next slide. Similarly, the sewer reserve fund balance, this is if we were not to increase rates, looking 10 years out. We can keep going. And then here's what it looks like with the recommended rate increase. And so it looks in healthy shape. Okay. Yep, you can go to the next. Okay, so the following slides contain the FY27 water and sewer rates that are recommended by the rate review committee, breakdown of them in more detail. So with those recommendations I just mentioned on the previous slides, here's what they would look like in the actual rates. Your quarterly minimum rates would up for water to $10.93, and for sewer it would go up to $11.76. Okay, proposed water rates, here's the current, so that's the FY26 rates under current. Step 1 is $3.19, proposed to increase 10 cents to $3.29. And if you look at down below bullet number 2, just for some clarity for people, step 1, most residential fall within that step. Then step 2 is more commercial, multifamily, and then step 3, your industry. And each step is based, or you can see bullet number 1, each step is based on the amount of consumption. It's a 3,000 cubic feet per step. So, okay, that's fine.
Ooh, do you want to go back?
I was gonna say similarly, the step 2 and 3 increase. I won't read the numbers, but, and the conservation rate, so go ahead. Sewer, wastewater, similarly, step 1 increase would be 40 cents. Step 2, $11.37 to $11.82. And step 3 would be a 52-cent increase on the rates. That's per 100 cubic feet. Yep. Okay, next slide. So the rate review committee, we do like to look at kind of the impact on the typical residential bill. And so the model actually gives us this, but we also do our own calculation too. But essentially, the quarterly increase, you're looking at about a $1 on water and about $4 on sewer. So over a year, that's about a $20 increase in your water and sewer bill for FY27 as compared to FY26. One thing the rate review committee also looks at, water and sewer, we do have fees. So if somebody needs a flow test for a hydrant, for example, or if somebody's purchasing or building a new home and needs a connection to our system. So we did look at water and sewer connection fees, and running through the calculations we've done in the past and updating them. The last time we did this was in 2023, so updating it to present day. The rate review committee did look at this and recommends that the upgrade shown on the, the proposed costs shown on the screen. So 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inch connection fees for water would go from $4,800 per ERU to $5,100. And for sewer, the connection fee would increase from $6,000 per ERU to $6,375. The bottom bullets, also don't miss those. Other recommended fee changes. We have a backflow test and a retest, and we just want to make those the same price. So the rate review committee recommended the retest going from $75 to $100 to match what the initial test cost is, because it costs the same to run the test. And then also, we don't have a fee for a 2-inch fire service connection, and we have actually seen these in recent past. So adding that in, similar to the way the other connection fees for fire service are denominated, we recommend putting that in for $2,000 at a 2-inch fire service. Okay, this slide just represents the summary. So tonight's vote is on the water and sewer rates. Also, I'll get into stormwater after this. Here's what the rate review committee recommends effective July 1, 2026. It's basically what I just went over, so I won't read it again. I think we can go back to the slide and you want to vote. We'll do that. Yeah.
I didn't hear what you just said. You mumbled.
Oh, I said we can go back to the slide when we get to the vote. I was going to talk about stormwater next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stormwater in brief. So Ayer is regulated by the state and federal government with an MS4 permit. So there's requirements and goals there, which have a cost to them. And also I list on here the infrastructure numbers, the significant amount of infrastructure we have. Next slide. Some of the issues in stormwater, and we know this is relatively new enterprise fund, and it was put in here to go from a reactive to a proactive approach, and so we're starting to get into that. But we do have a lot of aging infrastructure. We're actually getting our heads around exactly what's out there. There's poor records, but now we're out there determining it with CCTV and cameras and addressing things and updating our stormwater asset management plan. And this is the last slide on the stormwater, but the rate review committee recommends no change to the current rate. So the current rate is $95 per ERU, no change this year. In short, you can see on the graph here, the pro forma I put from the rate model. The green line is your revenue, and then the bars are your expenses. So even though we did have a slowdown in billing this year, we didn't bill until the fall, which the board is aware of. It's represented on this slide. We still are anticipating more revenue than expenses for FY26. And then if you don't do any change to 27, it's shown here. So long story short, no change to the stormwater rates is recommended. And that's, I think, it. That it?
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So just to clarify, the model, the rate model, when he's talking about, it assumes that every year, if tonight is approved at the 3 and the 4,
Yeah.
it assumes that next year we're gonna do a 3 and a 4,
Right.
and the year after that, and the year after that. So that model is not as flexible.
Mhm.
So when you're looking at those lines, you know, you have to kind of like, okay, things could change
Right.
because when the committee sits down and reviews everything, we're capturing what we're seeing right then. So I just wanted to make sure. And then the stormwater, yeah, you know, we just started collecting, so we don't even have full data on that, so. Any questions?
No.
Do you have any questions?
First, step one, like for, you say most residential falls under that, is that like based on 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, like what?
It'd be 3 bedrooms,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and that was helpful too. I wrote it down, but I might have wrote it down wrong. 415 days, is that the industry standard for having that money?
And yeah, it's the New England region that uses a standard for the reserve fund.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Because I always kind of wonder when the, what's it?
466.
466. My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
That's always good to know because when I see the retained earnings, I always kind of wonder, you know, where we should be. So that was a good number to know. That's what I have.
Anyone else have any questions? Yes,
Madam Chair, if I might, Dan, could I ask the last stormwater?
could you say your name and everything?
Oh,
Come a
sorry.
little closer.
I'm sorry, Dennis Carr, Pleasant Street near.
Could you come a little closer so that everybody can hear you?
Pull the
Zoom will be
microphones
able to
down.
hear you.
Hey,
Dennis Carr, Pleasant Street near. So Carly, if you could give us the last stormwater slide.
Yep.
The last one that was up. I'm just wondering, the baby blue there is the operating budget.
yes.
How is it that over so many years, the operating budget doesn't seem to have moved? Or am I not reading the vertical axis
I
correctly?
think it's really hard to see, you know, if I had a bigger graph, it would increase, but our operating costs aren't significant as compared to the debt service and capital.
Right.
We're mostly doing construction improvements in the field.
Mhm.
But it would, yes, there is an increase, you just can't see it. But it's minimal compared to the.
So you don't
We have
anticipate
graph.
significant increases in the operating budget over the next, I don't know, 6 to 8 years or so?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, there will be more MS4 permits, things that come around, but I don't anticipate anything significant. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Well, if there's no further questions.
Okay, I will make a motion to vote to increase the water and sewer rates and other fees as proposed by the rate committee effective July 1st, 2026 as presented in this public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Congratulations.
All right, great.
Nice job.
Madam Chair.
They all work
Thank
very
you,
hard.
James.
The committee works very hard.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Actually, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing for the water and sewer and storm rate recommendations.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. It's closed. Okay.
Well, the next one is a continuation, so it's still open, right?
Right.
There's no
Do
notice
we,
in here.
yeah, so we don't have to do anything.
Nope, so you
Okay.
just say that you're reopening the
Okay,
hearing.
we don't always have a continuation, it throws us,
I
so.
was confused too.
Okay, so now we're going to continue the public hearing from February 3rd for the out-of-town sewer connection request from Greg Gainley on 434 Old Air Road, Groton, Mass.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah, so maybe I could just read from just a couple of paragraphs to kind of give context to where we were in my request. Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah. So Madam Chairperson Livingston and members of the Select Board, thank you for the opportunity to follow up on February 3rd meeting regarding the exploratory request for an out-of-town sewer connection for my property at 434 Old Air Road in Groton. Since that meeting, I've completed the requested follow-up items from the prior meeting. I've submitted a packet on 3/15 with all of the details of the follow-up items. In general, GPR Engineering has surveyed the site and prepared full engineering sewer connection plans, which were reviewed with Air DPW and the town engineer. On the Groton side, the SOAR Commission reviewed the proposal and voted unanimously not to object to an intermunicipal agreement for this property, provided the SOAR allocation remains separate from the Four Corners capacity. Groton officials, including the town manager, the building commission, the Groton DPW, and the Neshoba Board of Health, have also been made aware of the proposal, have responded positively. From an environmental standpoint, connecting to the municipal sewer system is the preferred solution under Mass Title V when a connection is feasible. In this case, the sewer main is less than 60 feet from the property versus installing a septic system. Importantly, I will fully fund the cost of the sewer connection and related work, so there would be no financial burden on the town of Ayer. Because the property is located in Groton, the project still requires a variance from the Groton Zoning Board of Appeals. For that reason, I respectfully request that the board consider granting a conditional approval, allowing the request to move forward to Ayer Town Meeting in April, with the understanding that the approval would only take effect if the Groton variance is granted. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'd be happy to discuss any items in the packet or further any other questions you may have.
Any questions?
Yeah, I answered my question about have you spoken to the Groton ZBA, because I believe that's how we left it, the public hearing, that, you know, we wanted you to contact the Groton ZBA, just so we kind of, and I understand it's the chicken and the egg, but,
Right.
you know, for us in Ayer, I don't want to put, you know, our, you know, public works people out doing all this work and the money ahead of all of this to then find out that ZBA says no way.
Of course.
That would be my biggest concern about all this.
So I guess part of the problem too is, as far as, you know, what I'm thinking is, because I understand you making it conditional, you know, if we were to go take this to town meeting, that it would be conditional upon your Groton ZBA. But the problem is that because you're out of town, we don't always warm to that. Because there's no necessarily way for us to trace that you've gone to the ZBA. See, we would have to keep chasing you down to be able to tell the public that, you know, hey, you went to the ZBA, got approved, and now it's going forward. Okay?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's better, you know, if this was to go forward, that you've gone to the ZBA and the ZBA has said to you, tell town of Ayer with a letter saying, hey, if town meeting approves, we've already said yes. See, so because the onus should be more on you to prove to the town of Ayer.
Right. No, I completely understand that. Perhaps we could just date it as well. You know, give it 10, because I have retained a lawyer. I'm working with Perkins and Ansel. The plan is, after this would go through, is to go right into the ZBA agenda and get on their agenda and press forward there. Perhaps if you want to time box it to say, if I don't come back in 10 months, it's null and void as well. But I mean, I've already retained Rob and his team, and I've already paid for them, I'm continuing to pay for them, so.
Well, I understand that, but you know, our warrant closes on the first Friday of April, isn't it?
April 3rd.
Yeah, you know, so we wouldn't have necessarily all the ducks in the row to go to town meeting. So, Robert, have you talked to Groton, or Dan, have you talked to Groton about the IMA?
Yeah, I know there was communication, right, Robert? with
So,
you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, so there are potentially two issues or two conditions. The first has to do with the issue of the ZBA, which is important because you're going to have to legally demonstrate a hardship to get a variance. I'm not the Groton ZBA, but in looking at it, I think you have your work cut out for you, okay? The second condition, though, is this is going to require an intermunicipal agreement. So the reason it goes to town meeting is not only per the application in Ayer that town meeting has to authorize the outer town connection, but it authorizes the select board to enter into an intermunicipal agreement. The Ayer Select Board cannot be legally bound, nor can to what the Groton Select Board may or may not decide. And one of the issues, since we last met and looking at it, in intermunicipal agreements that we have done before, we'll use Groton as an example, there are provisions in there because if this was to happen, the town of Groton is actually going to own that piece of the connection, right? And I appreciate that you're, willing to commit to pay for the installation costs, but there are legally required ongoing maintenance costs to that. And I spoke to the town manager in Groton, and I'm not putting him on the spot, but I asked if this were to move forward, would the town of Groton assume those required maintenance costs? And he said no. Okay, now I don't know, I saw the material you submitted.
Right.
So that is, I just want to flag that as a concern, not to speak for the select board, but town council, myself, and Dan could not recommend that the town of Ayer absorb those maintenance costs in perpetuity, especially when legally under the IMA, Groton would own that piece.
Yeah.
So,
Couldn't we work into the IMA that the homeowner in this case pays for it? 'Cause I'd be perfectly happy to pay for the maintenance.
Well, that's fine and dandy,
Yeah.
but 10 years from now, you've sold your house. Is that fair to the future owner?
Oh, we could deed it into it,
You know?
into the lot.
So I'm just saying that,
Yeah,
it
it's true,
does, that
it's true.
does create a
It's not
problem,
guaranteed, yeah.
because, the new owner could, may manage to fight that
Yeah,
and say, well, I didn't sign on for that,
Yeah.
So it,
Right.
it does open, other concerns on that,
I would be
front.
willing to update the deed though, so that the new owner would have to take on that onus, but I get your point for sure.
Yeah. Well, again,
Yeah.
no offense,
No,
but
it's all
how do
good.
we know you'd update the deed? How do we know that you'd put that
Could
into
we-
the writing, so if you
No, it's
sold
true.
your home,
It's
see,
true.
so
No, I
again,
understand.
we have to kind of protect town's interests.
I totally
know?
understand, and I
Yeah.
feel we could even work that, would that be worked into a detail of that IMA agreement? That the landowner is going to maintain the sewer connection and also is, contingent on them updating the deed as well?
Town council, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are,
Sure.
right.
I think just having a private property like that, I think that adds a lot of risk for the town, rather than it just being the town of Groton, town of Ayer. If somebody's not doing something or getting it done, right? And we're trying to go after that property owner who's in Groton, it's gonna be very hard for the town of Ayer. I mean, that'd be my one thought on it. We'd probably end up having to do the work. It's kind of like a picture it, I don't know.
So,
Hold on. I was gonna go to,
Well.
I saw her first, so, me. Pauline?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, sorry, I always yell at you. I don't mean to do that.
I have
Um,
noted that, and, it will be
It's-
reflected in your Christmas stocking this year.
It's definitely not personal. I just don't know how loud I'm speaking. So there's been some chatter on Facebook today about this application. Are there any other private applications to our water and sewer sources? I know we've had other applications, but I don't remember any that have been approved.
Not at this time.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you so much. I'll try to whisper next time.
Hold on, Ken. You?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess my sticking point is, for me, sitting on this board, I'm always looking out for what's best for the residents of Ayer. And certainly, you know, we have a heart. So if it was something that came with a hardship, you know, this was gonna, you would have to leave your house where you are right now if you couldn't do this, or something that was, you know, really documented as a hardship. I would take that into account. The second thing is, you know, what benefit does Ayer get out of this? We've had projects in the past where, you know, Four Corners, where, you know, it was a financial benefit for Ayer to go into this. So it was, yeah, that makes sense for us. You seem like a very nice person. You know, you're very, you know, polite. Come here, well spoken. But you know, I'm just looking out for the best interests of Ayer as this position demands. So I think that's just my point right now. Is I don't see those two things in this application right now, along with the fact that I would like to see the ZBA go first. You know, for me, again, that would be what I want to say if Groton ZBA says, yeah, you know, we're good with all this contingent on what Ayer does. You know, I might be a little bit more inclined to look into this, but those are my personal sticking points.
Robert?
Madam Chair, I was just going to touch upon, I think Selectman Tavares said it best, similar concerns. In other words, as mentioned, you know, we also have to look at precedent setting. And I'm just speaking from my perspective as the town manager. All of the intermunicipal agreements that the board has ever committed has had a direct multiple benefits to the ratepayers. Like the Four Corners project was mentioned, that resulted in the extension of the sewer main. It allowed other Ayer properties to tie in, and they pay at a premium rate. Recently, the town meeting through the select board approved a gas station at in Littleton, but in connecting that, we were able to connect 6 Ayer properties that all had failing Title V. You see, so this case, you're looking, and I understand what you're trying to do is develop a lot. It's not, as mentioned, even like if it was your primary residence,
Right.
there was no other option.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. I mean, we
Yeah.
do plan to make this our primary residence, this
Yeah.
lot, but I understand that completely.
Yeah.
I kind of, the gist of what I'm understanding is that it sounds like if the Groton ZBA approve the variance, then I could come back for a possible re-engagement, or it sounds like several members may not think that that's, because you mentioned a couple of outstanding who would pay in terms of keeping maintenance, and if I sell it, so there's other outstanding like technical issues or legal issues that would need to be hashed out as well. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's somewhat back to the contingent request, right? It all still depends on the variance. But I was talking to my attorney, and he thought that the ZBA is less likely to approve without a sewer connection approval. So this is the tussle.
Yeah.
But yeah. And the Title V part was the part that I thought, when I was speaking with the Neshoba Board of Health, they mentioned that it's pretty clear that it says if you're feasible and close, and it's 50 feet away from a sewer connection, so therefore even a Title V type thing would get rejected, because say why didn't you connect to the sewer? Even though it's different towns, that's the hard part. That's the hard part. Yeah.
That gets into legalese that I wouldn't be able to speak to, but I mean, that would be my retort, would be, well, we can't connect, it's a different town, so that's not an option. That would be off the table. But I'm not a lawyer, so.
Yeah. My last request to the board is, in considering my proposal, is that if you do have a chance to speak with 20-year-olds out there, there truly is a housing problem. It's just not enough. So our plan is truly to vacate our property, move to this property, and let another family move to the area. It just so happens we're so close to Ayer, we patronize every business up and down. I mean, it's a second center for us. So you'll get another patron going up and down the streets, another family. Again, if we could try to work something out. But I completely understand all the thoughts, for sure.
Yeah, and plus I'm concerned if we were to take this to town meeting, these are questions that town meeting would ask too. And so,
They're legitimate questions.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know,
yeah, I
and then in
understand.
the precedent is like, well, if we do it for you, who else is living nearby that wants to connect? And next thing you know, we've opened a whole can of worms.
On this particular street, the next resident is thousands of feet away, so it becomes cost prohibitive. But I
Right.
understand that
Right.
any other little spur that connects to adjacent towns,
Right.
all those questions could surface.
So. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any more questions, but, you know, at the moment where we are right now, I wouldn't be comfortable recommending this to go to the town meeting warrant.
I agree.
Would you folks be more comfortable after the ZBA if they did approve?
Well, I think you've also got the problem that, you know, the town is, Groton is not saying that they want to handle the maintenance.
Mhm.
So then we have to handle the maintenance,
Mhm.
see? So
Right.
even if, and I just use numbers, easy numbers for
Right.
my example.
Yeah.
Even if it costs the town $50, why should the town of Ayer pay for the $50
I
when
agree.
you're living in Groton?
No, I agree. I totally agree.
You know,
and that's
so-
why I would legally would.
Yeah,
gladly
so
sign
I
any
mean,
agreement to
so ZBA I think would have to say yes, Groton would say, yeah, we'll take care of the maintenance. I mean, you know, everything would have to be more in favor of the
Yeah.
town of Ayer,
Mhm.
so that, you know, when it went to town meeting, the town of Ayer would be like, doesn't affect us, so okay.
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
I think that you've got some hoops to go through,
Okay, understood.
okay?
Yep.
Yep.
That
Alright.
Covers
Okay,
everything.
yeah.
Okay. Do we need to do anything else? Just, okay,
No
There's no
motion or
action.
anything?
no action, okay. So
Um,
vote on no
yeah,
action?
I-
Oh,
that
wait a
matters.
minute, Ken. Hold on, Ken has a question.
I just had a couple of questions. This just coincidentally, this happens to be up the street from me. They had a venue.
Oh, sure.
First of all,
Could
how many-
you say who
excuse
you
me,
are?
Ken Diskin, 180 Washington Street. How many issues do you have before the ZBA in Groton?
None at present.
No, excuse me. When you applied for a variance, what variances are you applying for? And maybe a
I have
phrase.
applied to none thus far.
Right. Okay. Maybe I'm phrasing the question wrong. Do you understand at this point in time what variances you have to ask for in Groton?
I'm working with my lawyer to determine that.
Okay, so now first of all, I'm gonna thank the select board for the very clear discussion here. And I think this makes it even more clear that we should wait for the Groton ZBA to make a decision because you're not even clear at this point what issues I mean, it's an undersized lot, so you know that's one of them. But there may be other issues that are involved in Groton as well.
Could be.
Okay, so another thing I wanted to mention, Dan, did you look at the drawing that was done by GPR?
Yes.
And
It's up
it
there.
showed a pump it showed an E1 pump.
Yeah.
So typically, that's just another piece of maintenance. So, do you know what an E1 pump is?
Sure.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
So the concern by the select board for maintenance will also potentially fall back on that E1 pump. Because strangely enough, our experience is that the homeowners don't take good care of a pump system in their yard. So it's potential even more maintenance that the town of Ayer or a homeowner could be up against. So
There is a
Would that-
backflow in front of that, so
But
it kind of helps protect it. But I get your point for sure.
right, it would have been nice if the whole thing was gravity. I guess is what I'm getting.
Yeah,
at.
yeah. So when I was talking to GPR,
So I
they,
don't want to design it here, but
no, they actually mentioned it's possible it could be gravity. They just didn't get into those details just yet.
no, I'm agreeing with you guys. It's way better for the town of Ayer to wait for a Groton ZBA approval and for us to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
So does this, like, on my application, does that conclude my application, or would I have to reapply?
Yes, Robert.
Madam Chair, I would recommend that the board consider just a motion to take no action on the application. In other words, you're not granting it to advance it, you're not denying it, but to take no action as there's more work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll make a motion to take no action on the out-of-town sewer connection proposed by Greg Gamley.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. All right.
Thank you all for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you. Have a nice one.
Yeah, you too.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll make a motion that the board close the public hearing for the out-of-town sewer connection for 434 Old Town Road in Groton, Mass.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Public hearing is closed. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, next up. Oh.
Oh, boy, Dan.
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, Dan, don't fail me. DPW update on the West Main Street Bridge project.
Yeah. I
Don't
hope-
make me
This
cry.
should be my last time up here tonight, who knows? Yeah, West Main Street Bridge. Currently, we are meeting weekly with the contractor. We did get notices out to the local public, and we put it in the packet here, to the local neighborhood. We're going to be posting that online. We have a dedicated website. And Matt Hernan, the town engineer, is doing a good job managing this. He's put together a whole plan for public outreach, including code red, mailings to the neighborhood, the buses, the schools we've been in touch with. Robert recently to the neighboring towns. Thank you for getting that out. So lots of notice going out. On the notice we sent out March 3rd, we said tentatively beginning March 16th, the week of March 16th. That's this week. We are not beginning this week. We are mobilizing tentatively after talking today at our weekly meeting with the contractor, March 30th, that Monday. And so it'll be about a week. That first week of mobilization will really be the contractor getting all his equipment on site, materials ready, putting in the erosion controls, things like that. So it won't automatically just start all of a sudden being down to one lane. That will happen probably a week or two after March 30th. No set in stone dates yet, but we will definitely be getting notice out when that happens. You can see an example of the one lane alternating traffic signal here. So that's what will be going in there eventually when they are ready to do it. We will have signboards at 5 locations throughout town indicating about this change is coming up 2 weeks before this is to happen. And so that's going to be out there. We're going to have detour signage. It's all in this notice throughout the area, a kind of a suggested detour to especially alert trucks not to come down this way. And obviously we know it's going to be everyone getting used to it, and we hope it goes smooth. But, you know, there's going to be some kinks to work out the first few weeks, I'm sure. But that's the project. So, you know, tentatively March 30th is the current mobilization date for the contractor. And those calls are weekly now. We have everyone on them. We have National Grid, we have Verizon, us, our contract consultant. And then on the last slide, Carly, if you just want to, real quick, I just want to mention, at least for the public's benefit too, keep going, yep, right here. So the QR code and the link there, that's the website for the project. We'll be updating that frequently, especially early on, but at the least monthly. So if anybody...
Oh, gosh.
Gotta fix it.
You changed the website, that's... No.
That's what happened.
Yeah, well, the town has a new website, and so we need to update that link.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Troubleshooting.
Troubleshooting.
So there is a dedicated website, and that's a really good place to go. Matt Hernan, the town engineer, and myself will be the main points of contact. If anyone has questions, we'll be at the DPW, and you can find us.
How
Yeah.
long do you think the project will last once you actually start?
So it's anticipated to be 2 construction seasons and then enter a third for the final portion. So first season's this year, that's the south side of the road. We'll replace that portion of the bridge. Next year would be the north side. And then after that, next spring after that would be the items on top, the guardrails, the sidewalk, finishing it up. You know, in the winter times, there'll be like winter shutdowns we anticipate, and it'll be opened up again instead of being one lane alternating traffic once they kind of finish that south side, and you know, when we're in between phases. So we do anticipate that. But yeah, it's going to be a significant project with significant impact. So really trying to get a lot of word out, and that's why I'm here right now.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
I'm so excited. It's really gonna
Dan.
happen.
You're welcome.
Oh, way too many, way too many.
Since
so.
she was in first grade.
At Pleasant Street School.
Yes. This project's been going on.
There. So, all right. Thank you, Dan. All right, next up, the Senior Center building update.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, all.
Having it. So, in the last 4.5 or so months, you can go to the next slide. We've been hard at work, making a lot of progress since town meeting. The design development drawings are complete. If you recall, it goes from feasibility study to schematic design, then design development level drawings, and then finally construction drawings. So the design development drawings are complete. We've been doing an exhaustive review of each of the 100 and some pages of those drawings, the committee and the working group as well. That review is underway and closing soon. With the completion of the design development drawings came an updated cost estimate, and that's completed as well. Both the drawings and the cost estimate are being reviewed with the committee, the architect, the OPM, the estimator, and we're all looking at what we can do to make sure that the project stays where it needs to be in terms of budget. The next bullet with value engineering is obviously a big part of any project, but a part of this one in particular. The utilities work is on schedule and anticipated to be under budget. That's for bringing water and electric to the site, and then sewer and stormwater are part of the
Comcast.
Oh, and Comcast, yeah, Comcast. So that's really good news in terms of that being to be anticipated under budget. As you recall, we were holding $1 million in the budget to bring all the utilities to the site, and we're coming well under budget on that. The environmental permitting process is an ongoing process with MIPA and MISA, and that's in progress thanks to the very hard work of our DPW director. Do you have anything you wanted to add on that?
Bring your own chair.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm back.
I knew it.
Yeah, Mesa and MIPA, so these permits in that area, it is in the jurisdiction of those two state entities. So Mesa is the endangered species, the Blanding's turtle is the big one. So we've been having informal meetings before with our consultant and Mesa before we submit the actual application. And so at our last meeting, we kind of laid out, okay, here's exactly where we're impacting, here's where we could offset it, and now you can put that together and let's submit your application. So we have a good timeline and schedule with MISA. MIPA as well ties in, and that's Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act. And so basically what that does is the project gets submitted to the MIPA, it's called the Environmental Monitor, and then it goes out to the public, and any state agency, anyone from the public can comment on it. And that's essentially what that process is. Our project is a little, it's technically within an environmental justice block, so it's a little more complicated. I'm getting in kind of weeds here, but we are working to address that and get that process moving forward smoothly too. And we have a tentative schedule and a consultant on board. So those are two big critical items for the schedule of this project. Yeah.
Before you move on, I wanted to follow up a little bit on the utility savings and whatnot. So again, with the help of the DPW, the DPW went out to bid on the water line down the street, and that bid came in below what we had estimated originally. Again, with the help of DPW, they worked with National Grid to determine the way National Grid would get to the site, and we've signed a contract with National Grid and given them the payment for that. So we have National Grid paid for, we have the water line bid done, and part of the water line bid was also the Comcast work to run conduit down the street and bring the Comcast cable to the site. So that's been completed, and those three pieces came in under budget, so we are off to a good start. I just wanted to give you a little more detail that, again, Dan Van Schelpwick and DPW instrumental in getting that process going.
All right, next slide. So in terms of a budget update, after the design development phase was done, the cost estimate came back at $15.7 million, and that includes everything: the building, the designer, the OPM, site work, all of the utilities, the generator, and the partitions. We went to town meeting with a number of $15.1 million, so that is $565,000 more than that. At this stage of the project, there's still a lot of moving parts. Some things are going up, some things are going down. These are by no means final numbers. I just wanted to give you an update on where we are in the process. So that number is a little bit high. However, as we go through the normal review process, the value engineering, the review of the drawings, we were able to identify $305,000 worth of potential savings. Those are things that the building committee will be addressing in detail at their meeting on Thursday night. The list is there. We don't have to go through the detail of them. Some of them are large, some of them are small, but all things that the working group, the architect, the OPM, and the three of us identified as good options for the committee to look at in more detail. As well as, as you mentioned, the utility bids have come in under that original budget at a savings. We're comfortable saying, around $150,000 right now. So though those numbers aren't exactly equal, they're close to equal. So some things up, some things down. Next slide. In addition to that, we're still continuing to look for other funding sources. We had applied for $170,000 in the Compact IT grant. Unfortunately, from the time that I submitted this presentation to now, we did find out we did not get that grant, which is unfortunate. We do have a $100,000 earmark put into Senator Eldridge, as well as a $122,000 grant submitted to the Health Foundation of Central Mass. We have several additional grants for the town to pursue, and this is just a short list, up to $250,000 with the municipal ADA improvement grant. T-Mobile has a hometown grant that looks to their specific focus is very much in line with our project. And then the Mass Cultural Council has the $200,000 facilities grant. We just need a community partner to apply, and so that process is ongoing. I've also identified like almost a dozen smaller other grants to apply for, and I don't actually enjoy writing grant applications, so I'm good to go for all those. If all of those were funded, which we know they won't be, if all of those were funded, that alone would be $892,000. And the Friends pledged $375,000 towards the goal. They haven't done their gearing up for a public fundraising campaign. They haven't started that yet. They're doing all the pieces to get in place. But they have raised $78,500 so far, so they picked up another $15,000 from town meeting without really actually going public with it yet. So I think they're feeling pretty good about that goal as well. So again, the main point with that being that some things are moving up and some are moving down. We're still looking at all of the ways to create efficiencies and keep the project in budget. We're also looking for all of the possible additional outside funding sources. Next slide. All right, yes, so everything at this stage is an estimate until the bids come in like they did for the utility work. The costs are not set in stone. Our OPM and our architect have suggested that the market is still in a very favorable position right now when they're looking at other jobs that they have had come back now. One of the things that has come into play is that the last time we reduced the square footage from our last cost estimate before town meeting to when we went to town meeting, we calculated what we thought the savings would be from that last reduction in square footage. And as we sort of all were aware that reductions in square footage don't always return the kind of and materialize the kind of savings you'd like them to, and in this case it didn't. As well as understanding that the CDBG grant changed as well from the time we went to town meeting and presented that plan. It was reduced from 1.3 million to 950,000. That was done at the federal level. That's not anything we had any control over. That application is underway. We have a consultant working with myself and with Ray to get a competitive application in. And just to keep in the back of everyone's head, we did bring to town meeting that $1.5 million borrowing contingency if this CDBG grant was not awarded. Again, we're proceeding forward with the goal of not needing that and having a successful grant push with CDBG. All right, next slide. Okay, so in terms of next steps, as we do every single day, we're continuing with the value engineering to make sure that we're identifying all the places that we can make the project the most efficient from a cost perspective and yet still, deliver the mission of the senior center. We're always looking for additional grant applications. Like I said, there's about a dozen I need to go through that I think are viable options to apply for. Our next cost estimate will be at 60% construction documents, and that's expected to be in June 2026, this year. So we will obviously be back then to talk and give more of an update. And our next building committee meeting is on March 19th. And that one is a fully remote meeting, which is not our typical format. So, any questions?
Any questions?
No? Okay.
Anyone else have any questions?
Sorry, I just had a couple more things too before. So just to let you know as well, we've completed under the architect's control is also the civil engineering for the project. Those civil engineering drawings and those calculations have been complete, and they're stamped, and I'll be turning them for the planning board approval in the next couple of days. So that, I simply have to fill the application out, but we have all those drawings. So that step is also a step that we have to take. We have to go through the planning board for site plan approval and so forth and so on. And also we have a stormwater calculation that we had to do, just like everybody else. We have a stormwater calculation, stormwater report, and that will be reviewed by DPW and the planning board as well. So that coincidentally is happening while we're working on the finish of the architectural drawings and whatnot. And one other thing is we are also reaching out to National Grid for potential rebates and incentives because it's a high quality, energy efficient building. It looks like we'll have a chance to, with potentially get some more rebates from them and incentives from them. So at the end of the day, we'll have, as we've been saying from the beginning, really high efficient energy savings type of a building. And that's about it on that. But I just want to let you know that we're also ready to go to the planning board in the next few weeks. The information will go in, they'll set up a meeting, and we'll have the formal site plan approval for the lot.
All right, any questions, anyone? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. All right, next up, Rachel Freilander, Director, Community and Economic Development.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hey, good evening. Well, with the support of the town manager's office, we're going to deliver a presentation first called Reactivating the Town's Industrial Development Financing Authority. And I appreciate the finance director being up here too to answer any questions. At least it's
I just want to
working.
point out that a lot of people didn't really wear any green. I mean, I'm seeing a little green pin here once in a while, but, St. Patty's Day. Where was the green?
It's hidden,
Good
but
job,
it's
Dennis.
there.
You got his hat. Well, why don't you start talking while she's working on the presentation?
Great. Okay. So we're just going to briefly touch on the IDF's history, loans, examples of the types of loans that the town has issued, the role of the IDFA and its purpose, the goals that we see for the future, our requests for 2026, and then, of course, any questions that the board may have. So a quick overview of the Industrial Development Financing Authority, because that is quite a mouthful, so we just stick to IDFA. It was started with Urban Development Action Grant funds, called UDAG funds, and the intent of the establishment of the IDFA was to protect the town from future unemployment and lack of business opportunity by helping attract new industry or expand existing industry. It was established by the voters of Ayer in 1994, And the select board used $1 million of those UDAG funds to create an air business loan program that was managed by the IDFA. And the program, since its inception, was managed in partnership with Main Street Bank. Next slide. So all of that tiny font there is a description of the different loan programs that the town of Ayer issued through the IDFA. So we have a 1994 Ayer Business Loan Fund business plan that was approved by the select board, and that helped create the loan products that the town of Ayer through the IDFA would issue. So in exchange for holding the $1 million that was used to support the IDFA, Main Street Bank provided loans and administrative services to the town at no cost. And I'd like to share that the Main Street Bank's AVP portfolio manager, Nicole Kaylock, is on in case the select board has any questions about Main Street Bank's involvement over the past 30 years regarding this program. And just to note, with our loans, that since there are already so many numerous existing loan programs outside of the town right now, and then there's many exciting partnerships that are available to the town with the state, there are future opportunities for us to consider when thinking about the use of the $1 million in UDAG funds and the purpose of the IDFA. And I also think it's important to note too that when the town established the IDFA and this loan program, it was with the intent that we would not be competing with any banks. So we would be offering different loan products that maybe a bank wouldn't feel comfortable offering, but the town would be willing to take on more risk to support entrepreneurs, existing industry, or attracting people. Next slide, please. So this is the start of the program in 1994 up until our last loan in 2020. So we did the best of our abilities to track down every loan that we issued through the IDFA, just to show the select board and the public that, on average, we were issuing about $200,000 in loans. You can see some years we issued a lot, other years not so many. The last loan that we issued was in 2020 to 9 Washington LLC. It was to improve the exterior building facade. So that was one of the most recent examples, but next slide, please. We have more examples just to share with the select board and the public. So in 1995, we issued a loan to AVS, $100,000. The IDFA, through the terms that were set by the Business Loan Fund business plan, set the interest rates. So they used that for working capital all the way up to 2017 with Osawa. We issued a $25,000 loan, 5-year term with 5% interest rate that helped with their fire sprinkler system. So there are, of course, more details with all the various loans that the IDFA issued, but those are just a few examples for the board. Next slide. So when it comes to the IDFA's role and purpose, this isn't something that the town made up. It's something that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulates through Chapter 40D. And of course, with the Ayer public approving in 1994, the IDFA operates under this Business Loan Fund business plan that was approved by the select board. It's a 5-director board. They must be Ayer residents, and they must have backgrounds like finance, real estate, government. And then there would be 2 ex officio members, myself and Barbara, to help out. So this is just an example with the select board's support for tonight. Some of the marketing that we'll put out to try and attract board members to help us run this program again. Next slide. So these are our goals. We first want to secure an active board of directors by the fall, winter of this year. We want that board to look at the IDFA's mission statement and goals and see if there's any opportunities for us to update what was started in 1994 with what could be happening here in 2026. We want to review the 1994 business plan that controlled the loan products that were issued out of the town to see if there's any amendments that we could make with the select board's oversight and approval so that we could create possibly new programs or new offerings to support our business community. We want to research and consider other opportunities to expand and leverage the IDFA's roles and investments in Ayer's economic development. And then we want to hopefully open up opportunities for businesses to actually be able to utilize funds that the town had earmarked in 1994 to support them by the spring of 2027. Next slide, please. And so this is our request for the select board. First, to allocate $1 million in UDAG funding to a dedicated account. And I was hoping that Barbara could just touch base on what the UDAG account looks like now, as well as how the town would manage the funds for this program.
Yeah, so right now the funds are all commingled under one UDAG umbrella. So we would pull the $1 million out, create its own separate general ledger, create its own bank account. So it would, the interest earnings would go back to the IDFA, and I do have a spreadsheet already for existing loans that will track any loans giving, balances, payments as they're received, and the interest income that will also come from the loan itself as well as the bank account. So I would envision 2 revenue accounts, one for just interest on our investments, like our banking account interest or whatever investments, and then another interest revenue account for the interest we may generate if a loan is issued that requires an interest payment. And then the way it has worked in the past, and Nicole is here if she can want to chime in, but every month the bank will send me a report of what payments were made, how much was interest, how much was principal. It goes right into a bank account that's designated for IDFA loans that already exist, and I track and we match to each other and reconcile every month. Right now it's easy because there's only one loan in existence, but the preparation's done, tracking system's in place.
And I believe the UDAG account has an account balance a little over $2 million.
Yeah, so the UDAG balance right now is $2,250,000. That's after the $1 million came out that was approved for the senior center, and before any replenishment plans that we may be talking about in the near future with free cash. And I will also point out that the UDAG earning on investments for fiscal 25 was $168,000, and for fiscal 26 so far, it's just under $94,000. So the UDAG fund is being invested in a way that we're getting a fairly good return on investment.
And so just to continue here, as Barbara shared, the finance department would continue to track the funds and the interest associated with all loans or other products that the town would issue through the IDFA. We want your support to reactivate the IDFA. Those funds would be managed by the future IDFA Board of Directors with operations guided by a select board approved business plan. And then Main Street Bank is generously open and has already offered me mentorship in the past, as well as hopefully in the near future, to continue partnering with the town and servicing our loans to ensure that we're doing our due diligence while also not competing with our bank neighbors. Next slide, please. So with that, we open it up for questions.
Questions? Yeah, a few. They're kind of scattershot. You had mentioned getting a board of directors. That's, I'll say, ideally, people that are in finance or real estate. As you know, we oftentimes struggle to get people to join boards in this town, unfortunately. So I guess there's no true answer, but if you can't find people with this kind of background, would you be willing to take kind of anyone that's willing to volunteer? Or is it really going to be a hard, we need these kind of people?
Through the chair, great question. So the IDFA membership is regulated by the Commonwealth. So we have to have at least 3 out of those 5 people have the specific background of real estate, finance, and government experience, with 2 of those members not needing that experience.
Okay, so it's a hard cap, unfortunately. Okay.
We
We
do have a plan B, though. We've checked in with town council. So if we have a hard time securing the required membership, we'll come back to the select board with that plan B.
Okay. I mean, we certainly have plenty of very well qualified people in this town, but it's just getting them to jump in and run something like this. I mean, I think this is wonderful. I mean, having money in account that we have is, it's always good because you have that opportunity, there, that money is there, but also putting it out to, the local businesses. I mean, I think that is a great idea. because we're reinvesting in the people and the businesses that are in our town. I had the question of like, how do you base the loan rates? I know there's some that are 0%, which is obviously would be super advantageous to a small business, but at the same point, I saw like Osawa had a 5%. So, is that going to just be up to that board of directors on what rates?
That is, through the chair, that is how the IDFA operated in the past through this business plan, is that they set the rate. Other products, though, that they offered, like the signs and facades program, they did 0% interest, and that was determined by the board. So I think, as we're getting this up and running again, once we have an active board, we can revisit how interest rates are set and come up with a practice in consultation with bank partners, or hopefully someone that has financial experience who's serving on the board can also advise the community on that as well. But we are part of the North Central Chamber of Commerce. They have a lot of experience issuing loans to businesses and offering technical assistance. The state has a lot of experience through mass development offering loans, so I'm not afraid at all of us being able to come up with something that's really great for our businesses here in Ayer.
And just out of curiosity, do you have like a historical default rate that has happened over the past, since 1994?
I do not.
Okay. Just, that was kind of out of curiosity. In my mind, this isn't a money making, it's more just trying to help the businesses out there. Again, and that's in my mind. As they are, paying it back, there's some interest. Then obviously that's, a big win for the town because it's a win all around. But just kind of curious, I was curious in the kind of model if, default rates and obviously, what happens at that point. But it would deter me from, being supportive of this.
Well, through the chair, something that's really exciting to see, and Carly, if you go back to that loans bar graph chart. So the town started this with $1 million of UDAG funds, and all those loans you see it totals over $2 million. So you can see that the town was able to use that initial startup to the great benefit of the community. And I know that was like in reading the old newspaper articles, that was always the intent, is that we would continue to grow this account. So we're just trying to blow off some dust, get the program up and running again, reestablish it with $1 million that's technically already there for the IDFA, but we just want a clean slate with the finance department helping us keep that separate and tracking the interest rate. So, any other questions?
No, you asked.
I'm curious, for any person who might be interested in this, how many meetings do you think would be anticipated? Would it be like a monthly? You think it would be a quarterly as needed? I mean, that's kind of info too that, anybody who might be interested in getting on this board would want to know. So do you have an idea? And you might want to throw that in, like even, the meeting schedule would be developed, by the board or something.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think our initial intent could be to aim for quarterly, and then we could design offerings in such a way where, we're looking for applications starting here so that for a quarterly meeting we can consider them. And of course, a business may be though in an emergency situation that could merit kind of like our rental assistance or emergency rental assistance or CDBG emergency rehab program. It could merit having to get the board together, but I think, starting out with 4 would be great for this.
Okay. Yes, Dennis, you can just come closer, please.
I'm sorry?
Can you just come closer?
Oh, sure. Just, I guess I might not have heard, but of the original $1 million that was allocated in 1994, was it? What's the remaining balance of that $1 million?
So over the years, prior to all of us here, the UDAG and the IDFA funds were kind of intermingled. I mean, and keep in mind that the original IDFA came from UDAG funds originally as well. So the current balance is $2,250,000, of which we're asking, $1 million to be recarved out again and separated from the UDAG funds.
And there's no way that you can tell what portion of the activities since 1994 led to the $2.5 million balance, or to Chris's point, to the default and the deficit, or less than that?
There's no way that I've been able to establish, and the information that I have available to me. This is actually wonderful, the research that Ray has done to see that we actually issued about $2 million in loans, and I can tell you we have one existing loan right now that the balance is under $9,000 that's owed to us at the moment. But yeah, going back historically, I have not, in the records I've been handed, seen anything that's allowed me to find that information.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Anybody else? Oh, yep, you can leave the chair. Oh, leave the chair.
Bonnie Tillotson. So I have a question regarding approval. Does the committee approve these loans, or does it go to town meeting?
Through the chair, it's the IDFA. So in the past, the select board approved this business loan fund business plan that outlined what could be issued by the IDFA, and then the IDFA would issue the loans to the businesses.
And if given, just hypothetically, if in a given year, if say 5 businesses came to ask for loans, would all 5 businesses receive those loans?
So in 1994, believe it or not, these guys were really motivated, ambitious to get that money out into the community. So they set goals in 1994 of how much money they wanted the town to be putting out there. So just to give you an example here, if I can find that off the top of my head, they wanted the IDFA to issue in its first year $364,600. The second year, the same amount. They wanted the average loan to be $100,000 for permanent working capital loans. They wanted the average micro loan to be $10,000. Like, they really thought this out in 1994. So I think for us, you know, we could consider like, what's the health of the fund? How much interest will we generate to offset any loans like coming back in? I think that would be something that the IDFA would consider, because we wouldn't just want to issue all $1 million right from the start. I think, you know, just speaking without having a board of directors to advise me, that this fund seems to be supporting more of the smaller businesses in the community. So it's not like a large business could come in and say, I want all $1 million, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
it would be something that we really consider when
Right.
putting the updated version of this plan together.
Okay. And then just, sorry, one last question. So hypothetically, if we had, you know, you give loans out and then there's a bad economic sort of downturn in the economy and some businesses don't make it, or they have to fold, is there, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the right term.
Clawback?
Yeah. Yeah, is there a clawback clause, or are they forgiven? Are those loans forgiven?
So through the chair, we had an attorney, a separate attorney hired to manage and oversee the preparation of all the various loans that the town issued. And I'm assuming, I don't have that detail off the top of my head, but there were probably some provisions that the town had written in those loan agreements that we issued to help us with that. Like, I do remember for loans, like, we would assume like a first or second place on a mortgage or do a personal guarantee. So those practices were put in place. I just don't have the specifics on the top of my head.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks for your time.
You bet.
Okay.
Anybody else? I think sounds good. I think this is great, and it's going to be nice to see this thing get activated again.
So,
Yeah.
Here's one question. So if we approve this tonight, then the next step, you'll move that $1 million to its own bank account, so while this is getting up and running, it'll start to collect interest
Yes.
on its own. Okay, that's my only question.
Yes.
Madam Chair, just very quickly, I want to thank Rachel and Barbara for all of their work putting this together. And so, Barbara, the total UDAG, which will remain still under the select board, is about $3 million total, because we have $1 million out, right?
So right now our UDAG balance is 2.25,
Yeah.
2,250,000. So
Yeah.
if we carved $1 million out, it
Yeah.
would be a remaining amount of 1,250,000. But then we also have the replenishments coming along,
Right.
which will go back to UDAG.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One of
So-
those being the senior center.
Okay, so my point is because we have 3.2 million in free cash, we're recommending, subject to select board and FinCom review and town meeting approval, we're recommending to replenish the 1 million that was for the senior center under UDAG. We'll be able to replenish that in April, so the fund will be whole, and we'd be looking for a vote from this board to authorize the million for the IDFA. And that will still give us the funding to continue to do projects as well as to fund the portion of the economic department's budget from UDAC.
And so, to the select board, the recommended language, if you were to consider it for tonight, is in the memo that you all had in your packet. If you look at that second paragraph, you know, so maybe it should say the department is recommending the select board support the reactivation, right there.
Yeah.
Great.
Want me to do it?
I'll do it.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that the select board support the reactivation of the Industrial Development Financing Authority and its associated operational cost loan program, and other identified needs of the IDFA by placing $1 million in UDAG funding into a separate account where the funds and associated interest will be accounted for by the Finance Department and managed by the IDFA Board of Directors.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The chair says aye. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Great.
this is a great program.
Congratulations to the town.
Yes.
And the show isn't over yet. We got one more thing. So the second item on your agenda is the Community and Economic Development Department has historically been supported by, at least our personnel costs have been supported by a 50-50 split between the omnibus budget and the UDAG budget. And so we're coming to you to ask for your support for our proposal of $140,305 to support the Community and Economic Development Department. And I'm happy to provide more details if needed on those expenses.
No, that's pretty standard. Yeah. So, any questions?
Nope.
Done?
No, I got no questions.
I make a motion that the board approve the fiscal year 27 UDAG budget request for the Community and Economic Development as presented, department as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair says aye. Congratulations.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Keep us posted.
Yeah.
Will do. Okay. All right. Next up is the continuation of the conversation of Next Gen Energy, the Keep Lights on Mass initiative, the memorandum of understanding for a project feasibility study.
Madam Chair, members of the board, picking up from the last meeting, the draft MOU was reviewed by town council. It is non-committal, as the chair had mentioned at the last meeting, and it has a lot of, if you will, off-ramps. So it's basically an expression, if the board were to proceed, of sort of an expression of interest to the feasibility study and so forth. It doesn't require any funding from the town, etc. The second thing, in talking to the relevant departments, largely DPW and the facilities department, with respect to the proposal, is definitely something I think worth, the consensus was further work, doing further exploration, which would come out through the feasibility process as well as additional due diligence. So those were the two assignments I sort of had from the last meeting. Town council has approved it to form. It does not commit the town to anything. And then secondly, at least our two major departments, DPW and facilities, and I would say myself, are interested in learning more about it, but I think until more due diligence and we get further in the process, I don't believe we need to commit any funding at this time.
And to provide a little more of an update, Gina Ash, who had been here that night, she's met with the town of Shirley, and I think town of Shirley's meeting's tonight. I could have the date wrong, but she's presenting to their select board meeting. Okay, so that's good news as far as getting the word out. And then this morning, it was emailed to us, so it wouldn't be in the packet. Gina emailed me and sent it, copy to Robert, saying that the grant that she had talked about, they're going to apply for it on Thursday. And that would have been for like $2 million. But they can include the town of Ayer. If the town of Ayer says they're interested,
Yep.
we can do a little letter of support saying, yep, we're interested. And they can put it in with the grant application, and that would provide up to $5 million in the grant, which would end up paying for the feasibility study. So she sent a template of a letter, which I'll be happy to read for you guys because it wasn't in the packet. It's a reason of a letter to the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs in Cambridge, on Cambridge Street in Boston. The reason is a letter of a commitment of FY27 MVP Action Grant application. Project Hero Cluster Phase 1 Multi-Municipal Energy Resilience Implementation Readiness RFR BD-26-104-2-ENV-ENV01-124463, which is the ECO One Stop FY27 grants round. Now, this is dear members of the MVP Action Grant Review Committee. It's written as if it was being signed by the chair, which of course is subject to approval. On behalf of the town of Ayer, I am writing to express our strong commitment to participate as a municipal partner in the Hero Cluster Phase 1 Multi-Municipal Energy Resilience Implementation Readiness Project submitted under the FY27 Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness MVP Action Grant through the ECHO One Stop Program RFR BD 261042. Town of Harvard serves as the lead applicant for this regional application. Ayer is a designated MVP community has identified energy resilience for critical municipal facilities as a priority action through our municipal vulnerability assessment process. Climate-driven hazards, including extreme heat events, severe storms, and winter weather, pose increasing risks to our emergency services, water and wastewater infrastructure, public safety operations, and community sheltering capacity. Extended power outages during these events directly threaten the health and safety of Ayer residents, particularly our most vulnerable populations. The Hero Cluster model offers a compelling regional approach to these challenges by coordinating energy resilience planning and implementation readiness across Harvard, Ayer, and Shirley. This project will enable our municipalities to achieve greater protective capacity than any single community could accomplish independently. The intermunicipal framework allows shared technical resources, coordinated emergency energy response protocols, and cost efficiencies that directly benefit Ayer taxpayers. The town of Ayer commits to the following participation in the proposed project: designating a municipal liaison, town manager or designee, to serve on the Hero Cluster Steering Committee and participate in intermunicipal coordination throughout the project period, providing access to municipal facilities for critical facility resilience assessments, including emergency operations, public safety, water and wastewater, and sheltering facilities, coordinating with Ayer's Emergency Management Director to support integration of Hero Energy resilience protocols into the town's emergency operations planning, supporting community engagement activities, including hosting or facilitating public forums for Ayer residents on energy resilience planning, contributing in kind municipal staff time and facility access as part of the project's local match. This project aligns directly with the Ayer's climate adaptation priorities and builds on our community's existing investment in MVP planning. The regional multi-municipal structure of the Hero Cluster is precisely the type of collaborative, innovative approach that strengthens resilience for all participating communities. We're looking forward to working with the town of Harvard, the town of Shirley, and the project team to advance this important climate resilience initiative. And like I said, the template was that I, the chair, would be signing it. I think this is a great opportunity. I agree with Robert that we shouldn't expend any money right now. I think this is a great opportunity to look into this situation. We could find out that it's not going to be feasible for us. But again, we can't go to town meeting with anything unless we do a study to figure out if we can. Ironically, I think it's kind of funny that we had this power outage today for hours, and this was going to be on the agenda again today. That I just think that's kind of funny. So I think I've gotten them up to date with everything that's happened since the last time we met.
Yeah.
So,
So so for tonight, we're looking to sign the memorandum of understanding
yes.
and the letter of support, correct?
The letter of support would be, I guess, in
That's
the
part of
grant
it.
application. Yes.
For both of them.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fact that town council looked over the MOU and said there's nothing that's binding, I mean, there's no negative to us going forward on that.
No.
I agree that if this was, we put out money or we lock into something right now, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. But for what we have right now, the commitment isn't anything that's going to be detrimental. So I'm good with it.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions? Yes.
So Ken just in 180 Washington Street. So you're basically saying that the $75,000 that they asked for the town to commit for the feasibility study, we're not doing that now.
Correct.
We would not be approving that for tonight, definitely. Because if they get that grant, that should take care of that should take care of everybody's commitment to the feasibility study.
Okay, thanks.
If otherwise, we would come back and have this conversation again and then say, yes, we would go, yes or no, we would go with the money. But for right now, no.
I make a recommendation that if and when you discuss the feasibility study again, that you reach out to some people in the public that have some experience with solar this is a solar project.
Well, that's what's even brought in here about facilitating public forums. So yeah, the public would be involved.
Thanks.
So, yes, Pauline.
Thank you, Janice, and I'll try to be lower key. I'm still concerned. Concerned is the better word about this. I asked several questions last meeting, which was interrupted by whatever technology glitch, so I caught on late. But as I understand what you are discussing tonight, this is simply a method to move forward to explore it further?
This is, yes, and also to apply for the grant, that if it would make it larger than the original, if it was just Harvard being on the grant application, it would be 2 million. By adding us, would up to 5 million, which would then cover the feasibility study.
And 2 weeks ago at your last meeting, I heard the towns of Bolton and Shirley, and I forget the third that was considered as a possibility, because if I understood correctly from the last meeting, you needed 5 towns. And I know I was not entirely enamored with the idea. Do you have 5 towns? You have Ayer and Harvard.
I do not have an update on the Bolton one. I do know that the town of Shirley is meeting, I believe, tonight to discuss this. So their town of Shirley is getting this presentation. So it is being presented to the other towns, but that's my update for right now. That's what I know.
Okay. And the overall proposal is to help these towns provide energy, electricity predominantly, to residents, if I understand it correctly from what I read?
It would start off with, if this was to be approved by town meeting and we started building this microgrid, it would be initially to all the municipal buildings in town or the emergency services, which would be a nice, healthy impact on the residents because it would cut down that operating cost. Then as it went through the years and started producing, because remember the first 5 years, we would only own a small percentage of it for the investors,
Yep.
then it would flip. And then we would own I'll say 95 because I can't remember, 98. And then the investors would still have that 2%. And then as we're starting to grow, because obviously, as you know, you can fill those batteries, the solar batteries and whatnot, or whatever it ends up being, to a capacity that may not get used by everything, then it could end up being sold, and hopefully, yes, the residents could then hook in and we become really self-sufficient. But as again, right now, it would be just the municipal buildings, which again would end up cutting costs for the taxpayer. So there's a potential for a win-win here. But down the road, yes, it could end up being offered to residents.
And I'll leave this last question because it's more than what I wanted to ask, but what is the time frame that you anticipate for this to happen? This is not gonna happen next year or the year after. I can foresee this being a couple of years down the road with all the contract and the municipal agreements that will be needed. Is that a reasonable assessment?
Could be, yes. I mean, I don't think we have a time frame right now because, you know, they've got to apply for the grant. You know, they've got to get the other towns, and then, you know, they do the study. Once they get that group, then they'll come back and say, okay, we're ready to do the study. We say, okay, we agree with, you know, what's the impact to the town of Ayer? Are we being asked to shell out money, or is the grant going to cover it? And then we get the feasibility study done, and then from there we go to town meeting and say, this is the study, and, you know, we think we should go for it. So yeah, it's not a tomorrow type of thing. It is a couple years down the road, but it is building for something for the future that could really be a nice impact for the town of Ayer.
We can only hope, but thank you for your explanation. Appreciate it.
Okay. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Julianne Govang, 34 Broughton Harvard Road. If you could please remind me, in the discussions a couple of weeks ago, it was mentioned that it's the first 5 years they own, second 5 years we own, and it builds from there. But the long-term projection would be that this would be not obsolete, but would need a complete renewal after about 20 years. What would be the plan after that 20 years?
At this time, I don't think we would know, but I would think that as we would go forward, and maybe the feasibility study would be able to answer a couple of those questions, but that I think as we go forward, because I would think we would have to have some type of a management if it was built, that would constantly, kind of like we do with even wastewater and everything, to kind of say, okay, here's what we're doing, here's what the maintenance would be. So that's my best answer at this time.
Okay. Similarly, and if I'm premature with the question, just say you're premature with the question. Going back to the beginning of tonight's meeting, we mentioned something between Broughton and Ayer and how it was kind of persnickety because Ayer would not own it, Broughton might be maintaining it, but they won't, that type of thing. With something like this, when we're dividing it between potentially 5 different towns, and if I'm remembering again correctly, if it's like solar fields that would be generating this, who would be responsible for the maintenance of those?
Each town.
Each town. So each
Yeah.
town would have its own?
Right. So the idea is to build the consortium so that it would attract investors. So by having the 5 towns get together and say, hey, we really think this is a great idea and whatnot, and we're all for it, then investors come forward and they, you know, blanket help build, but, you know, whatever's on the town of Ayer property, the town of Ayer owns. So yes, maintenance would be there for us later, and hopefully all the revenue would help cover for that. So, you know, it could end up being, you know, hey, you know, we generated $100,000 of revenue this year and we needed to spend $75,000, and we're just informing you and there's no impact to you. So that's
That'd be
that's
lovely.
what the hope.
There's no
that's,
guarantee of that, but
right, but
yeah,
that's
would
what
be
the
awesome.
hope. That's what the hope is. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Hello, Rachel Cozera, 30 Groton Harvard Road. Thank you so much. I just had a quick question. I wasn't quite clear with regard to the draw of investors with regard to this kind of project. I believe someone asked that question, but I just wasn't sure about the answer. I'm just trying to understand kind of the project in general. Just the draw of investors, why people would want to build
I
these.
think that it was banks, wasn't it banks?
Yeah.
So it would be the banks investing in that. Can you help explain that?
Yeah, well, I think I think this is going to be further part of the study and the due diligence, but this NGE company would be looking for, he mentioned it was large banks that invest in clean energy is who they would be targeting, for lack of a better word, for funding.
Right. I was just wondering, but I mean, I understand that, you know, it's a large project, Never mind, I'm so sorry. That is all I have. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
No, I said my point, and I think people understand that we're not going into anything, rushing anything tonight. It's just trying to gather more information, because I have plenty of questions. But, just now is voting to, try to get those answered without having any commitment with money or legal issues. That kind of sum it up. I just wanted to make it clear to everyone.
Yeah.
So 2 motions?
Yeah.
I'll make.
Oh.
Yeah. 'cause
One for the
letter-
MOU and one for the letter of support.
So I make a motion that the board approve signing and entering into the memorandum of understanding for the Next Gen Energy Keep the Lights On Massachusetts Initiative project feasibility study.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And chair says aye.
Now make a motion that the board approve the letter of support, letter of commitment for the fiscal year 27 MVP action grant application as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And chair says aye. All right, thank you very much. And let's all keep our fingers crossed that this is going to be a good thing. I'm really interested to hear how this is going to come out. So. Okay. All right. So, next up, town manager's report.
Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening. If there is no objection from the board, in the interest of time, I'd like to take item 5 of my report first, which is the request for amendment for the beer and wine license for Archer's Mobile. I know that Mr. Archer's is here, but there's no objection to just take that out of order and then go to my items. All right, thank you. So I'm going to, Madam Chair, I'll turn it over to the Assistant Town Manager to just frame it, and Mr. Gary Archer, who's requesting the amendment from Archer's Mobile.
Thank you, Robert and Madam Chair. We were approached by Mr. Gary Archer, who'd just like to make an amendment on his addendum A to his beer and wine license down at Archer's Mobile at 70 Main Street. He is requesting the ability to be able to sell single or individual containers of beer, malt, or wine coolers, similar to other businesses, which are able to do it, but for, I'm not sure, there was this restriction on his license by the 2014 Select Board, which I have not seen on other licenses.
Yeah.
Why did we restrict you?
Hi, Gary Archer. Actually, back in 2000, I've had license since 2004, I believe. There might have been, I think there's a change after that. When I used to have a service garage on the street, on 70 Main Street, and I went in front of the board, planning board, and I said I would like to, turn this into a full convenience store and update my property. And then I came in front of the selectmen by the request of my builder. He was a builder out of New Hampshire. He said, we're designing your building and your cooler space and your floor plan. And what about, where's your liquor gonna go? I said, I don't have, liquor. He says, well, why not? I said, well, you're from New Hampshire. I said, Massachusetts doesn't, I've never seen that. Massachusetts, well, why don't you ask? So I came in front of the board, and I, first of all, I went and I got tips trained myself and my manager, and I said I'd like to, I get tips trained, and I want to understand, what I was doing and all the rules and regulations with that responsibility. So I came in front of the board, and I said, this is what I'm doing. I brought my manager in with me as well, and I said I would like to request a beer and wine license in my new property. And I said, I'm also tips trained. They said, oh, why did you get tips trained? I said, well, I want to understand, all of the responsibilities going with that license. So they like that, and I just said I'd like to carry 6-packs and 12-packs, and I think that's how it happened. I just took it as is, that was fine with me.
Okay.
There's a couple other restrictions on there that we get reversed, currently back in 2014. I have 3 kids, and they came up to the age where they could work. And I said, I'd love to have you work for me, but I have restriction on that. You can't have a, person under 21 working in my facility. And I don't on the cash register, but I said, could I have that removed so my children can work in my business under my guidance? And they said, absolutely, your children should work in business. You should be, that should be part of, your business, your family. And we've been here for over 30 years, 40 years in town. And they just took it right off the license. So I don't have underage children, but I do have a senior right now. He's 18, and he actually works for me when he's not in school.
And so, Madam Chair, I granted, the police chief reviewed the request. There's no issues from the police department. So we would recommend just removing that restriction number 5.
Okay.
And Mr. Archer just went through the same process in Littleton, and no issues in Littleton.
I have a location at 5 Rankin Street as well.
I remember when the mobile station had a garage.
Had a what?
I kept having to get my Pinto fixed there,
Oh.
the clutch. Yep. So, all right, any questions?
No.
No.
All right, anybody questions? Nope. Okay.
Then I will make a motion to amend the beer / wine license for Archer's Mobile on 70 Main Street, Ayer, Mass, as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And chair says aye. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. I really
Alright.
appreciate it.
All right, thank you for your patience tonight.
Thank you.
All right, Robert, back to you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the board, so back up to number 1. In terms of the administrative update, you have in your packet the town warrants that were reviewed and approved since the select board last met on March 3rd. And in the interest of time on the administrative update, just a couple of key points. The 71 Sandy Pond Working Group met on March 9th, and after all of their work, they voted to finalize their recommendation, and they're planning to come to the select board for May 19th, because it will have a full study and presentation. We're going to get all of that together, but that project will be moving forward. I just want to point out that last March 10th, they had Habitat for Humanity had the blessing of the Habitat home behind Town Hall, 12 Newton Street, which was very well attended and exciting, and met the 2 families that'll be moving in, and the plan is for them to start moving in on March 27th. So that is coming to fruition there. Cool. And then I know Selectman Livingston and Selectman Tavares were at the celebration event at Nasoya on March 10th, celebrating their new, their 65,000 square foot expansion, which will also create approximately 30 to 50 new positions. And as they stated, it will be the largest tofu production facility, I think they said, in the world.
Yes.
In the world.
Yes,
So
yeah.
a great
Beautiful
event
facility.
there.
Beautiful
So
facility.
unless there are any administrative questions from the board, I'll get right into number 2 and number 3 on tonight. So on the budget update, the good news is we're going to save all of the excitement for next Wednesday at 6. So I won't get all into the budget. I just want to reemphasize that the forum is next Wednesday, the 25th at 6 p.m. As the chair mentioned earlier. It will be a joint meeting of the Select Board and FinCom. All of the town departments will be in attendance. So after we do a presentation of the FY27 budget, everybody will be available to answer any questions that the board, FinCom, or the public has. It'll also be on Zoom and in this room. I just want to highlight just a couple real quick things on draft 2 of the budget, which was sent to the Select Board and the FinCom last Friday, March 13th. It is in the packet. It is also posted on the FY27 budget webpage on the town website. We'll get more into this in detail on Wednesday, but I want to point out that when we started this process in October, the target for the omnibus budget was not to not to increase any more than 5% or $1 million, any more than $1 million over last year. The 10-year average has been about a 5.2% increase. Last year was a 5.6% increase. I'm pleased to report that in draft 2, and this was a lot of work from all of the town departments, the finance team, support from the select board and the FinCom, draft 2 is at a 3.37% increase, or $674,000 increase. So we're well below the target. And by being well below the target, why I say a lot of work, we're still going to maintain the high level of municipal services. In draft 2 also has the certified assessment from Neshoba Valley Tech, which we have talked about previously. And tonight, the school committee for the Ayer Shirley Regional School District is meeting tonight to certify their budget. What you will see in draft 2 is the number that was provided by the district, by the superintendent, subject to certification tonight, but it represents a 5.8% increase for Ayer, and I believe a 7.9% increase for Shirley, or $893,000 increase for us. So if you take the omnibus budget and you put the 2 school assessments in, the total for draft 2 is right at 5%. But again, our omnibus target was no more than $1 million on the increase, or 5%. We're coming in at 3.37%, or $674,000, and we'll get more into that on next Wednesday. And I also want to point out that the FY27 budget has no new positions in it. There are actually some reductions to some positions to part-time status, and there is the removal of a vacant position. So we are hearing the people loud and clear out there to rein in spending, no new positions, and if you look at the budget, it does reflect that, and we have more work to do in FY28. But we'll talk more about it on Wednesday night, unless there's any initial questions from the board. Number 3, just an update on the annual town meeting warrant, which is under development. In your packet, you have the memo as of Friday. As of today, there are 28 articles. Of the 28 articles, 8 of them are what we would call new. So 20 of the articles are the standard articles of every year. Now, of course, the dollar amounts and so forth, which we're currently verifying and populating into the warrant, will change. But a lot of it is the standard from each year. As of today, there is going to be, since I did the memo on Friday, there is going to be either a 1 or 2 easement articles for National Grid and Comcast for the senior center project. So to run the utilities, there'll be the need for an easement. Those are being developed. And the deadline is noon on April 3rd, Friday, April 3rd, for all warrant articles. And that's also the deadline for any citizens' petitions to the town clerk. The Finance Committee is scheduled to review the financial articles at their meeting on Thursday, April 2nd. So our target is to get to them by next Friday, the 27th, the draft warrant with, pretty much everything in it. So the board will have it, the FinCom will have it. They'll do their review on April 2nd. Then you'll do the approval of the warrant on April 7th. So we're almost there. Then, if there are no questions on that, I'll go to item number 4, the last item in the packet. There is a memo prepared by Rachel, the Director of Economic and Community Development. So there were 2 items I just wanted to bring up, and it was actually brought up earlier, but just want to re-emphasize it. So we are applying, as Rachel mentioned, our CDBG grant for the project. The total amount is $950,000, and we just want to just clarify, as it was earlier, at the November 19th, 2025 CDBG public hearing, the program manager at the time shared that the FY26 CDBG one-year grant amount the town could pursue was $850,000. That was preliminary at that time, so we just want to confirm that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has updated that dollar amount to $950,000. Once that application goes out, we'll let the board know, and then of course we will advise when we are awarded that. Related to that, the second thing is, as part of the CDBG application, the board needs to authorize, which has historically been the town manager, to just to serve as the authorized signatory for the grant, so any paperwork or so forth related to this specific grant, and to be the certified environmental officer, which I have done before. So that what that is any of the, for the grant, any of the environmental requirements. Of course, there are other town departments and consultants and so forth involved with that, but there has to be a signatory to sign off that everything is in order. So from the department, we're recommending that the board authorize the town manager to be the authorized signatory and the environmental certifying officer for this grant.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
You need a motion?
I'll make a motion that the board approve the designation of the town manager as the authorized signatory and environmental certifying officer for the CDBG grant.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. All right.
So unless there are any questions from the select board, that concludes my report tonight. I thank the board for your time and consideration, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I've been told that on St. Patrick's Day, everybody's Irish. There you go. So, thank you.
All right, so I know that there was nothing scheduled under new business select board member questions.
Nope.
No, I have one. Was there bowling going on upstairs tonight?
Madam Chair, it was
Puzzle
the Parks Department St. Patrick's Day puzzle war.
Oh, okay.
And it could be a couple leprechauns, we'll have to check.
Okay,
Yeah.
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 No, this was our biggest turnout. They had like 35 people.
Ah, yeah.
The puzzle pieces are like 50 pounds each.
I know. All right. Okay. Next up is the approval of the meeting minutes of the March 3rd, 2026. That was a painful meeting. Oof.
I
The
didn't
whole
have-
Zoom going off and everything. Oh, God. Anyways,
Started at 6:18.
Yeah.
I had no edits or changes.
I had nothing.
I just picked up some minor spell check. I don't even know if it's really worth pointing out, just typos. Under the DPW Director Award of Contract for Bishop Road, make sure invoices, just was in losses.
Oh, okay, yep.
And then under, it's like 2 paragraphs down, in italics, awards the contract for Mill Street. Dryag and
Oh, yeah. Got it.
very minor, that's it.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, that will affect the
Okay.
signature page.
All right. So we got to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as edited.
There you go. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair says aye. The meeting minutes are approved.
Okay, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair says aye. Good night, everybody.